There is a line in Jurassic World when they talk about the new dinosaur they have created escaping from its paddock. And they say, she is learning where she fits on the food chain, and I'm not sure you want her to figure that out. And I've been thinking about this a lot while watching India destroy Bangladesh, and now obviously England absolutely eviscerating Pakistan. For over a century, we've been saying that cricket is a batter's game. Yet, there haven't been too many times when the batters have truly dominated. In fact, from the turn of the millennium until 2017, which was arguably the best period of batting that we have ever seen, it actually then got really tough for it again. Still, we just kept saying it was a batter's game. And some of this, especially in tests, is just due to format leakage. In limited overs where bowlers are restricted and the ball deteriorates, it makes sense that the batters are going to take over a little bit more. But in tests, it hasn't quite worked that way. Batters have never won matches very often. They keep you in some, they add to the bowling in others, and occasionally there will be a freak innings. And of course, without good batting, your team won't be consistent. But throughout the entirety of Test cricket, bowlers win tests, not batters. But right now, is that still true? England is about to beat Pakistan by pounding their brains out. 803 punches in 150 overs. So is this the moment when batters rise to the top of the food chain in Test cricket? This was made using MV Play's Insights. The same technology that supports the England and New Zealand Test players is available to club cricketers as well. For the longest time, batters were trapped in a metaphorical cage. We judged them on one metric, average. And what does that do? It looks at how many runs you made and how many times you were dismissed. Sure, hundreds were important and total runs certainly helped. But average was always the first and in some cases the last thing we ever actually looked at. And an odd part of cricket is that we know how many runs bowlers went for per over all the way back, but we never looked at batters' strike rates. Bowlers were always held accountable for everything, batters only for runs and average. But limited overs cricket changed that. Efficiency of scoring became so important. And that's why no one is here saying that Shai Hope is a great ODI player because he averages over 50. Because if anyone suggests it, his 77 strike rate gets brought up faster than any innings he's ever played. Even in the old days, we had fast scorers like Clem Hill and Victor Trumper, but we had no way to include strike rate in their cases for their greatness. Yet, attacking batters have always been really crucial in our game. Ian Chappell has long been a fan of specifically attacking openers because they do two things. They mess with the bowling team's plans, forcing them to adapt quickly, and they speed up the game, buying more time for bowlers to take the 20 wickets. Teams have always understood this without even focusing on strike rates. But traditionally, tests were still played to avoid losing rather than to win. If you had someone like Gordon Greenidge or Matthew Hayden, they'd give your team extra time, but most sides didn't have the bowling attacks to back that up. Of course, Australia did during Hayden's career, with Warne and McGrath, and that's why they were the first team to intentionally massively up their strike rate. In the late 90s, Australia was just frustrated because they were the best team in the world consistently, but they kept drawing matches. So they decided to score quicker and give their bowlers more time. But of course, they could do that with a bowling attack as dominant as Warne and McGrath. Yeah, they sacrificed some runs on occasion, but they knew that their bowlers could handle it. What we're seeing right now is different. England's current bowling attack feels like it's been scraped from between the couch cushions. And they got absolutely hammered in the first innings. Yet England is winning by having their batters score so many runs that Pakistan almost has no chance left in this game. And in cricket, we often talk about scoreboard pressure and how large totals mess with batters' minds. But what do you do with the fact that when a team has made 800 runs at 2 runs and over quicker than any team who's ever scored 800 runs, and almost no teams have ever scored 800 runs? And that is before you factor in that Pakistan faced almost the exact same number of balls that England did and still scored 267 less. And it wasn't that Pakistan was scoring slow. They scored at 3.7 runs per over, which is fast for any era, and even now. I don't think I've ever seen a test match where it mattered less who was bowling for England. The sheer weight of runs combined with the time left meant that Pakistan had to either score 450, which is always hard at the end of a test match, or block out 110 overs. Those are historically difficult feats. And if this match was played a generation ago, Pakistan couldn't have lost after scoring 556 in the first innings unless the opposition produced a legendary bowling performance. But England batted so aggressively that Pakistan's first innings became irrelevant. Think about this. In 1959, US President Dwight Eisenhower came to watch a test match in Pakistan, and he witnessed one of the worst ever. Pakistan crumbled to 104 for 5 runs on the day. And it got worse because Eisenhower then turned to Pakistan's President Ayub Khan and asked, isn't cricket actually supposed to be played on grass? Because at that point, Pakistan was still playing on matting pitches. Imagine the embarrassment of trying to impress a world leader and instead showing off your national obsession at its absolute worst on the wrong surface. And I mention this because I think it was probably the most embarrassing day in Pakistan's Test cricket history until today. But of course, Pakistan can take solace in the fact that they are part of this new era. Twice now they've been involved in incredible test matches against England. History is being made with Pakistan cricket, though unfortunately completely at their expense. But this is a change we're seeing in tests. Teams traditionally attacked with the ball and held firm with the bat. Now both sides of bat and ball can attack and win it for you. This is a whole new world. For years people said that T20 cricket was killing bowlers, but the numbers never quite backed that up. If anything, T20 bowlers have held their own against the new batting revolution. But that was because the focus was still on averages rather than the strike rates. In the last couple of years of T20 cricket, specifically the last IPL and a couple of the other major leagues, we saw a shift. Batters realized that they are now the hunters. And that is what we have started to see in tests. Batting has been unleashed. My friend Muhammad Isam sent me a message about this match. He said, in the scale of other sports, how insane is 823 in 150 overs? And to be honest, I couldn't answer. Test cricket is so different, it's hard to compare it to other sports like, I don't know, golf or cycling. And the best analogy I could think of was the fact that batters are now like runners after the 4-minute mile was broken. For those who don't know, the 4-minute mile was seen as the limit of human ability. There was no way anyone was going to break it. However, once it was broken, the record fell again and again. Now, men are 17 seconds faster than 4 minutes, and the women are only 7.5 seconds away themselves. But in truth, this innings and this match didn't really remind me of another sport. It reminded me of movies. Cinema existed for 70 years before Star Wars came out. And then from the moment the Star Destroyer appeared on screen, everything changed. Movies became about blockbusters and franchise. A movie was no longer just a 90-minute thing you did to pass the time. It was now an event, and there were toys involved. Some things are so big that they shift the entire landscape. Like for instance, why do I even know a line from Jurassic World in the first place? I grew up watching Sam Peckinpah and Sergio Leone films, and now I'm watching movies designed to sell toys of made-up dinosaurs with blue stripes on them. But in tests, our Star Destroyer moment was probably Bairstow at Trent Bridge. That doesn't mean that we still won't see the standard test cricket played, and quite clearly, as we've seen with Hollywood, quite a few flops. But in that match where New Zealand watched all those balls flying over their heads, it's hard not to think about the fact that that was test batters striking back. I have a book out with Abhishek Mukherjee, and it is called Overthrowing Cricket's Empire. And it's about the stories of how each team beat England for the first time. We go all the way back to the demon Fred Spofforth getting annoyed at W.G. Grace for acting a little bit like Alex Carey. And then we come all the way to present times with Rashid Khan's England's redemption. We cover every single team to beat England in a major international, but we also talk about the incredible stories like the barefoot basher from Fiji that almost played for New Zealand. In fact, this book is full of tales like that, like how Pakistan lost a top batter after he was on the run from an angry husband of a movie star he was having an affair with, and also how one future captain of his nation realised he might have to go out and bat at Lords and that he didn't own his own pads. Cricket was used as a tool by the Empire, but what happens when those nations grow up and get good at it? Find Overthrowing Cricket's Empire on Amazon today.